new attacks this hour. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard, the IRGC, targeting American military locations in the Middle East after the U.S. launched new strikes on Iran tonight. An immediate back and forth, an escalation. Now, the latest is according to Reuters, and it comes after U.S. Central Command says that the U.S. attacks are a, quote, powerful response to yesterday's attack on a commercial ship that was transiting the Strait of Hormuz. And the U.S. apparently is targeting missile and drone storage locations and coastal radar sites. A member of the Iranian parliament posting, the U.S. attacked Iran in the middle of negotiations. Once again, the failed U.S. president has shown he has no commitment to the principles of negotiation or a ceasefire. This reckless violation of the ceasefire will, as always, lead to retreat and regret on their part. Now, Vice President Vance posting, Iran signed a ceasefire agreement. We have honored it. If they have disagreements about how the MOU is being applied, they can pick up the phone, but violence is met with violence. Sure doesn't sound like there's any sort of a deal. Never mind that the deal itself that they talked about, there wasn't a single thing that both sides agreed upon. Now, these are the first reported strikes since the U.S.-Iran peace agreement, such that it was signed last week. Now, Trump declared that Iran shot at least 4 one-way attack drones at ships transversing the strait. And talking about a very expensive carrying ship, he called the entire thing, quote, a foolish violation of the ceasefire. Now, all of this back and forth would have you believe that, well, the war is still on. And Trump did admit today something that's significant for him. I mean, after months of saying that the Iranian military has been decimated and that there's nothing left, he said that the attack shows on the cargo ship, it shows that Iran does retain some of its capabilities. Here's exactly what he said.
We still have a fight. They have some capability, not much. They're not winning or anything, but they have some capability. They can still shoot.
Now, that might be the first time he hasn't said their military is totally decimated. But even so, he's not dealing in facts when he says not much. I mean, as we've reported, Iran maintains about 70% of its pre-war missile capabilities. Yes, they've been hit across the board, but they retain a lot of capability. And the new U.S. strikes tonight raise major questions about this agreement between the two sides and how Trump squares what's happening now with what he has been saying ever since that agreement was signed.
For the first time in 3,000 years, we are finally going to have peace in the Middle East. Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. That's done. Iran is being very nice. They're agreeing to everything that I want.
How concerned is the administration tonight that all of that talk we just heard from Trump in recent days is over and that this is all falling apart?
Aaron, these U.S. officials have been concerned. They've been concerned for the last several days. They have stressed to me in conversations just how fragile, just how tenuous these negotiations are, this deal is. And it does appear that they have reason to be stressed or concerned about this latest round of strikes. As you noted, we actually also have this reporting now. It's coming from Iranian state media, but they are saying that Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has said that they are targeting U.S. military positions in the region now to respond to those strikes. And I want to walk back here because when Central Command put out their statement, they seemed to indicate that the ceasefire was still in place. And we've seen this before, right? This trading of strikes. But the U.S. is really trying to hold on to the ceasefire, to the deal, to the negotiations. They continue to stress that anything that they've done has been retaliatory, has been in response to something else. They are protective. They are not something that is offensive on Iran.
I think it's a significant escalation, and it's something that could very well spiral out of control if it's not contained. Of course, the nature of the escalation will depend on exactly which areas, which bases, U.S. bases the Iranians strike or target. And if they are successful in doing something like what they did against the Fifth Fleet headquarters base in Bahrain or against Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia a few weeks ago, that, of course, could spark a major escalation and could result in a resumption of hostilities. So this is something where I think the Iranians are definitely playing with fire, and it could not end. It might not end well, depending on how this goes and how far each side lets it go.
Brett, you've served 4 presidents, and you dealt with every Iranian negotiation. So what do you see happening here right now?
I see, Aaron, the Revolutionary Guard is calling the shots in Tehran, literally. They're calling the shots in the Strait of Hormuz, firing drones at ships. They're calling the shots with Hezbollah. They direct Hezbollah. If Hezbollah wants to fire into Israel and basically destabilize that front, they can do it. Today, kind of the U.S., kind of stopped the victory lap that Iran has been on since this MOU has been signed by showing that we will actually strike back if you're going to fire at ships. I think that was a significant move by the administration's part. It's the right thing to do. Hopefully to remain contained, but now we're in a tit for tat. Every time there's tit for tat with Iran, Aaron, they insist on having the last shot. You might remember even the Soleimani strike. They launched missiles at our base, and then sometimes they put a ceiling on it. So I'm not surprised they took another shot. Whether it goes up the ladder from there, we have to see. But today at the State Department, very important agreement between Israel and Lebanon, in which basically it says Hamas has to disarm, talking about potential peace between Israel and Lebanon. That's a long way down the road. But it's contrary, totally contrary to how Iran is reading the MOU and basically its influence that it has the seat at the table in Lebanon. That's also important. So, but this gets to your point, Aaron, that you led with. Nobody agrees on what the MOU actually says. The way the vice president talks about it is totally contradictory to the way the Iranians talk about it. And then you see it in substance. We're going to unfreeze frozen funds for American farmers and soybeans and things. The Iranians say absolutely not. The strait is wide open. Iran says not. And then they're demonstrating action behind their words with drones.
So, and going ahead with the acts. I mean, Colonel Leighton, what we're seeing from Iran tonight, right? So this is now the early hours of Saturday morning. So this final decision was made, obviously, literally in the middle of the night in Tehran. What's the significance of the targets that have been chosen when you think about where we are right now to go directly for U.S. bases?
Yeah, it's certainly very significant, Aaron. And I think what it means is that the Iranians are definitely showing that they're willing to put up a fight. And they feel confident. They believe that not only do they have leverage over the Strait of Hormuz, but they also have leverage over the entire Persian Gulf region. Basically, what they've done is they've decimated the economies of the Persian Gulf states, or at least gotten close to doing that. When they took out the natural gas, liquefied natural gas plant in Qatar, a few months ago, that is something that is a big deal. And more of that is also something that we could be seeing here. So right now they're limiting it to the U.S. because that's where the firing came from as far as they're concerned, as far as the Iranians are concerned. Now what we're possibly looking at is a possible broadening of things if there isn't a lid put on this right now.
But what do you make of the fact that the President of the United States, for the first time, seemed to indicate that Iran still had capabilities? Obviously, he still wasn't factual in what he said, but it's the first time it hasn't been the military's gone, the Navy's at the bottom of the sea, all of that rhetoric, right? That he acknowledged that there was capability still remaining. Does that indicate anything to you about what people are really telling him?
Well, I hope it's an acknowledgement of reality. And in the age of drone warfare, Aaron, Iran has capabilities. It takes one drone to shut down the Strait of Hormuz. And that Iranian system is still intact, that Revolutionary Guard system. And their policy, I wish it was different. Every administration hopes it's different. But they want to do three things. They want to be the regional hegemon. They want the United States out of the Middle East. And they want to ultimately eliminate Israel. I mean, that is basically their ideological direction from the Guards, and that's what they pursue. And I haven't seen them, with the new cast of characters, whether it's Ghalibaf or anyone else, change that basic course of ideology, which means we are still going to be in this very contested domain, whether we like it or not. I hope we can have a breakthrough here. But tonight, I think we're in this new normal of tit for tats. You'll see the countries, others trying to keep it contained. Let's hope it stays contained.